we're recording.
All right. My name is Rob Heideman. I was a police officer with the Miami Township Police Department in Claremont County, Ohio, from 1990 until February of 2016. During that time, I held several different assignments, which included road patrol, criminal investigations, community relations, and I was also a school resource officer for about 5 years at Milford Junior High School.
Alrighty. And for my first question for you, what is the size of the area your department covered when you were a police officer?
Miami Township is an unincorporated township in Claremont County, and our area was close to 40 square miles. We had a residential population of approximately 35,000, and we also had several businesses there, so our daytime population could be anywhere between 50 to 70,000 people.
Alrighty. So write this down real quick. Alright, and for the second question, what type of agencies did your department associate with during your time as a police officer?
Of course, within Miami Township, we had, the fire department, which was the Miami Township Fire and EMS. We had a service department. We also worked closely with the Claremont County Sheriff's Department and the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation and Identification, or commonly known as BCI.
Okay. And for my third question, did your department have a terrorist attack plan or protocol prior to 9/11 happening?
No.
Okay. And did your department have a plan or protocol post 9/11 happening?
Well, there are things that we did, and what you have to remember, pre 9/11 and post 9/11, any act of terrorism at its root core is still a crime. Mm-hmm. So, of course, we had policies and procedures that address different types of crimes and how we responded to those. I think after 9/11, the thinking was, how to detect the potential of terrorist activity and how to effectively respond to mass casualties. Okay. So in response to that, we did have additional training that addressed those issues.
Okay. For my fifth question, what were the main elements, if you can recall, of your department's terrorist attack protocol or plan?
Well, in responding to mass casualties, we received training on how to do triage, how to respond safely, to situations where there may be explosives or secondary explosives. A lot of the training that I received early on dealt with how to observe in somebody's residence just common bomb-making materials. You may be on the scene of a domestic violence call and look around the room and see certain chemicals or pieces of hardware just in the area that could be used, to make an explosive or things like that. So, as far as responding to, incidents of terrorism, the concern is always to contain the area and try to apprehend the people that are responsible for it, and to, get help and medical treatment to anybody who's injured as quickly as possible.
Okay. And for my sixth question, did your department do any training with any other agencies in the area?
In the area, we not so much with terrorism training. We did quite a bit of active shooter training. Uh, that's a little bit different than terrorist training, but most of the terrorism related training came through the federal government through grants, um, schools that were put on by the Department of Justice. Several of us went to Socorro, New Mexico for the explosive training I spoke about. Um, Several of us went to Galveston, Texas, and learned about other terrorism-related criminal investigations and techniques. So a lot of the training, terrorism-wise, actually came through the federal government, and a lot of the equipment and the local training came through grants that were sponsored by them.
Okay, and for like, just like non-terrorist training, did you just train with like fire departments and like maybe like the sheriff department of Claremont County?
Yes, absolutely. We did a lot of training with Claremont County Sheriff's Department, neighboring departments. We didn't train so much with the fire department. They kind of had their own protocol and their own way of doing things. And in hindsight, it probably would have been a good idea to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but we didn't at the time. It was mostly just law enforcement training with other law enforcement agencies.
Okay, sounds good. And how often did your department do training to remain prepared for a terrorist attack?
Well, we as a department, we didn't really um, train on a regular basis specifically, for those types of incidents. We would implement policy. Um, the extent of our training was pretty much classroom, and other than the active shooter training, I can't really think of anything where we would go out and have actual hands-on practical exercises that dealt specifically with terrorism training.
Okay. And then for my final question, have there been any changes or updates to any protocol since post 9/11, or did it just kind of remain the same?
I would say it's probably remained the same, and I would think, on the local level, that's probably common. That's probably what you would find. I think a lot of the changes that do take place are not so much specifically law enforcement related, but it's more, mass transit. You have
Mm-hmm.
the TSA, you have Port Authority, you have other agencies that deal with the movement of large groups of people, and of course they're trying to detect and deter terrorists from being able to carry out whatever they're doing. So, I don't really think anything's really has changed in how you respond to it. But, like I said, after all, it's still a crime. You respond to it pretty much like you would respond to any other criminal activity, really.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sounds good. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
All right. Glad I could help you.